Hey, what is going on, everybody? Bauer. Welcome back to the channel, guys. The video that I have for you guys today, we're going to be going over another scripting tool. I know, we got lots and lots of scripting tools, but they're great, aren't they? These are fabulous to have in your toolbox, right? Speed up the map making process. They're just good to have. All right, so the script that I'm going to go over today, it's something a little bit different, but not so much. And and what I mean by that is the script is easy fence. Okay. And I know before you think that I lost my darn full mind, I know that we did easy fence. As a matter of fact, I had two videos that I did on easy fence, right? And the first one, in the first video, we did I did a barbed wire fence. And you could have done a panel fence, anything along those lines. And I showed you everything you needed to do to get the script working with that type of fence. And the second video, I did a utility pole, right? Which was great for me because I have this love-hate relationship with utility poles. They're time consuming, they're tedious, and anything that will speed up the process is fantastic in my book, right? And that's where Easy Fence came into play. It was just a great utility. All right, so we would think by now that we went over everything there is to know about Easy Fence, and it just can't get any better. All right, well, it can get better, and it did get better. All right, so any of you guys that have been following me for any length of time now should know by now that I'm a huge fan of FarmerBoys Modding. Right, been following those guys for a long time. They do outstanding work. They're just a great bunch of guys, right? The way I think of these guys is, no, I don't know, if any of you older guys out there that have a little bit of time under your belt, you might remember it was a television commercial for a company years ago. Now they're called the Chemical Company. It was BASD is the name of the company, and their slogan used to be, "We don't make things, we make things better." And for some reason, that's what I think of when I think of Farmer Boys. They make everything better, right? They really, really do. And of course, they make things. They make lots of things, right? But they definitely make things better. And I don't know why. It's just something I always think of when I think of them guys for some reason. I know it's silly, but it's just is what it is. But anyhow, so like I said, they made Easy Fence better. And you might not think it can get any better because I've used it the way it was for years, and I was fine with it. It was an outstanding script, but oh, wait till you see this. It gets so much better. So hopefully by now, you've had a chance to play around with the script. You know, you got a good feel for it. You used it in your projects. You put down some poles, some wires. The sky's the limit, really. You can think of all sorts of different ways to use this. All right, so let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into this, and I'm going to show you what's going on with the new Easy Fence, all right? And this is great. You guys are definitely going to love this. So let's head on over to FarmerBoys Modding. That's farmerboysmodding.com. And that's where we're going to grab the script. Now, most of these guys should know by now that you do need to be registered and logged in to be able to download from the site, post to the forums, anything like that. All right. So if you have not done so already, go ahead and do that. You'll be glad you did. There is tons and tons of good information on this site. Trust me on that one. I've learned so much through this site. It's ridiculous. And that's what it's all about. We're all learning, always learning. And even now, these guys will help you. No questions asked, right? You have an issue, you have a question, a suggestion, anything like that. These guys will definitely help you out. All right. So what we're looking for here on the main page, you can see up top here underneath topics, we have fence power placement script. Okay. So go ahead and click on that. Alrighty, now you can see there is an entire tutorial for this thing, an entire tutorial. There is a ton of information here. Now, I'm only going to say this once. Well, probably not. I'll probably say it a bunch of times throughout this video, but I can't say it enough. Read the tutorial. Now, I know how it goes. I've been in that boat, and in many cases, I still am, where you get so eager, you just want to jump in and you want to play with these things. And then, maybe you have questions about something didn't work quite right, what have you. Then you have questions and things get messy after a while. But I promise you, all of your questions are answered in this tutorial. Get to know the script. I mean, it tells you everything. All the settings are explained here. There's additional information that you should know. The way that things should look when you run the script. You name it, There's all sorts of stuff in here, and there's additional information in here that I am not going to go over in the video, only because I want you guys to come over here and read this tutorial. He did an outstanding job. It's outlined extremely well. Look, I mean, it's documented with photos. Everything that you need is inside of here. Okay. It's like I said, you can probably skip the video at this point if you don't want to hear me rambling on. You could just you could just jump right in and get to work. But anyhow, like I said, do yourself a favor and please, please read over the tutorial. There's a lot of information in here. There really, really is. At the bottom of that tutorial, you will see the download link for a Fence Power script. It's in a zip format, so go ahead and download it, unzip it. And by now, you guys should know how to install a script into Giants Editor. It has been brought to my attention recently that I don't have a standalone video on installing scripts. I guess I just took it for granted at some point. I know that I've gone over it in two previous videos. Maybe it was Field Dimensions with Bitmap and maybe the Foliage Creator, I think. But in any case, if you were to come to my channel and try to search for how to install scripts, there is no standalone video. Sorry about that. I apologize. But what I will do is sometime down the road, in the near future, hopefully, is I will create a standalone video for those of you guys who are just starting out and don't know how to do that stuff yet. I will get that out there for you guys. Okay. Alrighty. So like I said, go ahead and download that to a place where you're going to be able to find it again, unzip it, get it into Giants Editor using whichever method you feel the most comfortable. All right. And we're going to get back over in the Giants Editor. All right. So just like the old script, we are going to need something that we're going to place, some type of fence or utility pole, what have you. Okay. So in this video, I am going to be using the same barbed wire fence that I used for the last one. Okay. So let me get down here quick. We're going to do a little bit of prep work on the fence, just like we did last time. All right. So I'm going to Control B and I'm going to put down the fence. Alrighty. So by now you should know, or at least from watching the last two videos, that when we use the spline placement script, when the objects get placed on the map, that they go in the direction of this blue arrow. Okay. If they do not, you're going to need to fix that. You're going to need to freeze transformations and fix that. This is information that I went over in the last video. So like I said, if you guys are just joining us, you're new to the channel, definitely go back and check those last two videos because I go over all this information. I'm going to be kind of breezing over it. I'm not going to get too in depth here, but I did in the last video. So check that out if you need to. All right. So I think my, the wire is actually not right in it. So what I'm going to do is my wire here for the fence is a double wire. I'm not going to be using a double. You can if you want to, but you'll count that as a single wire. All right. When it comes to the script, you won't count that as two. You'll count it as one. All right. But I do have a single wire. I'm actually going to copy this and paste this inside my post. Control V, paste that in there. Okay. And there's my wire. Now you can see that my wire is facing the wrong direction. All right. What that should be is this wire here should be going in the direction of the blue arrow, or the blue arrow should be pointing in the direction that you want your fence to go. All right. So you can see, right here is my wire, but here is my blue arrow. All right. Well, that's not the way that I want that. Okay. What I want to do is I want to be able to move this wire here down to here. Okay. So I'm going to rotate it. Now, when I do that, the blue arrow is also going to move over to this direction, but that's fine. When I reset transformations, everything, or freeze transformations, everything should be okay after that. All righty. So actually, let me clear that out of there quickly. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. So like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that minus 90. That's the rotate Y axis. I'm going to move minus 90. You see how that moved down to where the blue arrow used to be. And then we're going to go up to edit. We're going to go to freeze transformations and make sure just your rotate is selected and click apply. Now you can see that my fence wire is going in the direction of the blue arrow, which is what we need. Okay. You're definitely going to need that. If you don't, you'll find out quickly that things are not going to work the way that you want them to. Okay. All right. So we have the post somewhat set up. What I need to do really quickly is I'm going to take this wire here. All right. Yeah, I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to move it. We did this in the last video, so you should be pretty familiar with this. I'm going to duplicate the wire, first of all, because I'm running two wires on this fence. All right. And then each one of these wires, I'm going to hit Control G and I'm going to put them in their own group. All right. So now I'm going to take that first wire. I'm going to take the whole group right where it says group name. I'm not going to take the individual wire. I'm going to take the whole group and I'm going to move that up to where I want it on the fence. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the second wire. I'm going to move that up where I want it. Now we don't need the actual wire. We just need the empty transform group. All right. If you've done this before, you should know. All right. So I'm going to delete these wires. Okay. And that is that. Now our post is prepped. That's ready to go. We can run that through the script. All right. So I'm going to create a spline really quickly because we're going to need that. All right. Got the spline. Actually, I'm going to leave that just the way it is momentarily. And then I'm going to go up to scripts and I'm actually going to run the fence power placement script. Okay, so you'll see that a box pops up here. If you look down in your scene graph at the bottom of your scene graph, you'll see you have a new transform group down there called fence power objects. Inside of there, we have a few more transform groups. We have wire fence node. We have fence placement, and within there, there's two more transform groups called post object and placed objects. All right, so I want to take this wire. Now, if you remember on the last script on the easy fence, we had to tell the script the ID of the wire that we were using, and it would clone that wire. All right, and it's basically it's doing the same thing here, but in a different way. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this wire, and I'm just going to copy it. All I need is a copy of it. I'm going to copy it inside that wire fence node. All right. So instead of supplying the ID, we're just going to give it an actual copy of the wire. We're going to say, okay, here's the wire that I want to use, and it could be a copy. That's not a problem. All right. Our spline needs to go into this fence placement. We'll put that inside of there. And the post, we're going to move that into post object because that's the post that we're going to be using. All right. Now with this, there's definitely some things that have changed with this. Okay. One of them being is the post objects and the wire fence nodes. Okay. Now, if you recall from the last video, this post needed to be a single mesh and each one of the wires needed to be a direct child of that post. And that was it. You didn't want to have that in another transform group and you didn't want to have other transform groups within that. You just wanted to have it as is, simple as could be. Now with this script, it's still recommended, but it's not mandatory. If you remember when I did utility poles, I had to take all of my wires and I had to move them outside of the pole itself to be able to run them through the script. And then I had a separate transform group for the poles, separate way. It was not a mess, but it was not the preferred way to do it. All right. Well, now you don't necessarily have to do that, right? You can have other objects in this transform group. So I might need to rearrange a few things, but I can have other transform groups in there. All right. So the one thing to keep in mind is that post and the two childs, or however many you have, but the post itself and its children needs to be at the top of that list. It needs to come first. Okay. And then you can put other objects below that if you need to. Now looking at my utility poles, you can see how much other stuff was in there, just a lot of stuff. So maybe I needed to rearrange a few things to get the wires up at the top, but that's really all it takes. Now, like I said, it's still preferred to just have the single mesh, the post with its children, and that's it. But if you need to, you can have other stuff in there. The other thing worth noting is, and we can tell by looking up here at the box here, we have all of our information, all of our settings are here, but you'll see that we have a couple random settings. All right. Well, on the fence node, right, for the wires, you can have more than one wire, obviously. Because we're placing more than one wire on this fence. But what I mean by that is you can place them randomly. So say you have one straight wire, you have one wire that's a little droopy, you have another wire that's maybe broken. Well, you can put them on randomly, right? So it will pick them at random, which wire it's going to place. So you can have more than one wire inside of this fence node. All right. So if you have 3 or 4 different types of wire, now they should all be the same length. Make sure they're the same length. But you can put all of those inside this wire fence node, and the same thing for the post object. Maybe you have one post that's, one color, a separate post that's a different color, maybe one that's a little crooked, maybe one that's, whatever. So you can have more than one post also. All right. And you can set that on random and it will randomly put them down. And it adds a lot of variety to your fence. I am not going to be going over that in this video though. So I do recommend again that you get over to Farmer Boys and you read that, you read the tutorial that comes with this because it has all of that information in there. All right. So just like the old script, for the spline placement script, we set our post distance. How far apart do you want your post to be? Now mine, I usually put mine about the same distance as my wire, only because I don't want my wire to get stretched and warped and that sort of thing. But if you have just a plain Jane wire, you can put them at any distance you want. You're going to want to play around with this script and see, get a feel for what it does. All right, stay upright is the same thing that we did in the spline placement script, where it follows the terrain and it can lean forward, back, or does it, stand straight up. I want mine to stand straight up, so I'm going to put that on selected. Now, if you want to run random wires or random posts, this is the place that you're going to do that, right? To set the random spline order and the random wire board placement. Okay. Those are the two different things that you're going to want to set if you plan on doing that. Now, the wire board placement is just for the wires in the board, and the spline order is for the posts. Okay. So keep that in mind. Like I said, get over to Farmer Boys, read the tutorial. All right. Now, the number of the wires or boards, you can see that I had two. That's how I set mine up because I'm running two wires on this. All right. And the fence length. Now, this is the length of the wire itself. I happen to know that mine is 3 meters. If you don't know the length of your wire, go back and watch the other video because I went over that in there. I'm not going to cover that in this video. You should know how to measure the length of that wire. All right. Most wires or fences that you'll use, the author of that, prefab will have that in there. 2 meter fence, 4 meter fence, 6 meter fence. You get the idea, but not always. Sometimes you will need to measure that board or the wire yourself. Like I said, go back to the last video or one of the last videos on Easy Fence that I did. And I show you in there how to measure the length of that wire. All right. So for maximum post and start post, that is going to be if you're going to be breaking up the script, if you're going to be running it in small chunks. All right. So like say if you have 100 posts total that you want to do, you want to do 50 of them one way, 50 of them another way. That's how you're going to do this. Right. So you would do maybe your start post, your maximum post would be 50 because you're only going to run the first 50 out of 100. So you would start at 1, run to 50. And then when you run it the second time, you would start at 51 and your maximum post would be maybe 100, I think, or somewhere around there. All right. I got to play with that one a little bit and see if it differs any from the original script. I can't imagine that it would, but that's definitely what that's for. That's for breaking up your script if you're going to run it in chunks. Okay. Maybe you got a massive map with thousands of these things and you don't want to bog down a system by trying to run them all at once. All right. So you can break this up into chunks. And then, of course, we have remove fence if things don't go quite as planned. And I will show you that in just a minute. All right. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set down my spline. I'm just going to really quickly, I'm going to control B and I'm just going to make something really simple here that I can set my, post along this spline. Like I said, I don't want to get too crazy, but I do want to give you a good example of what's going on here. Alrighty, control B. Oops. Oh, that was my fault. Sorry about that. All right. So I guess we'll just do like a big loop. That should be fine, right? Okay. So that is going to be my fence right there. All right. All right. So from here, we are pretty much set up. As long as you've gone through here and you set your post distance, stay upright if you want your post to stay upright. You specified the number of boards, your wire length is all designated. Now make sure that you followed along and you went through and you set your post up correctly, that you have your 2 groups or 3 or 4, or however many boards or wires that you have. So the script knows where to place those wires. All right. Once everything's done, if you're following along, once everything's done, it should just be as simple as just going up to the box here and clicking the button, create fence power line. And look at that. I mean, man, this thing like really knocks my socks off. For one, it finished in seconds. This thing was done easy, super fast. I mean, it doesn't get any better. I mean, look at this thing. It's absolutely 100% perfect. All right. And like I said, if you wanted to, like I might have like every now and then I could have a broken wire in there or I could have like maybe a different color post when it looks a little bit weathered, or maybe a tractor backed into and it's got a big crack, or you name it. So you can run random wires, multiple wires, different types. Let's put it that way, and different types of posts. And it's fantastic, you know. And like I said, I've used Easy Fence for a long time, right? And I've been fine with the way it worked. It helped tremendously. It was a huge time saver, and this here is just, this knocks it out of the ballpark for me. This is just fantastic. This is everything I could have wished for out of that script. It honestly is. And this here, what I'm looking at now, is my latest project, and you can see how blank this is, right? I've got a long way to go. I've been spending all of my time up here in this little town. It's extremely detailed. And I'm happy about that, but taking a while. But what I was trying to get at there is, you can bet your bottom dollar that and I have a lot of fences and utility poles that need to be run on this map, and I will absolutely 100% be using this method to do it. No doubt about it. All right. So you have all your fence objects showed up here in the placed objects, right? And it's the same thing as the spline placement script. You know, when you run that, everything shows up in the placed objects. If for some reason you decide, hey, you know, I goofed something up, I need to rerun this, I need to make a change, just come up here to remove fence, put that on selected, all right, and then run the script again. Oops, I need to be on fence placement. Remember that. It always needs to be on fence placement when you do this, okay? And then you run the script again, and there you go. So the fence is all gone. You can go in, make some changes, do whatever you needed to do, move this back down to deselected, and then run the script again, and there's your fence. All right. I mean, it's fantastic. I can't say enough good things about this. It's just, it's that good. It really is. So like I said, do yourself a favor, get over to Farmer Boys, grab your copy, and start putting this sucker to work, because it's, I just, like I said, I don't know what to say. It's that good. I mean, it's free. I would tell you it's going to pay for itself over and over, but you know, it's just, it's all good stuff. It really is. All right. So, like I said, hopefully you guys have had the chance to play around with the old script. There's no longer two scripts that you need to run. Everything is contained within this one nice little package. And it just makes things so much easier. And that's it. I mean, that's really all I have to say about it. I can't recommend it enough. Get over to Farmer Boys, read the tutorial, grab the script, put it to work. You'll be glad you did. Alrighty. And that's about it. I am going to leave it right there. So with that being said, I am Bauer Brown, and I will see you on the next one.